Are we finally getting third-party full-frame lenses for the Canon R system in 2025? Or are we just being gaslit again? I've got some really good news for you, but there's also a little bit of bad news to go along with it. I'll break it down for you in just a moment, but if you're serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel grow while keeping you in the loop. Back in 2022, we broke the story that Canon was telling Viltrox and others to stop making RF mount lenses, and we were able to validate that directly from Viltrox. Then, at CP Plus in 2023, Canon executives said this: "Whenever a third party presents a request to us, we consider it based on our business strategy. In fact, we've been communicating with some outside companies, and you may already be aware that here at CP Plus, Cosina has already announced they will be creating RF lenses of their own." And at first we got excited by that. It sounded promising. Canon's starting to open things up a little bit. And here, look, Cosina, they've already got some shiny new lenses, right? And they used the plural, but it was only a single lens, and we had to wait the better part of the year to get it, and it was manual focus, and that's just it. But then Canon said this at CP Plus 2024. I want to clarify that as we speak, there are no third-party RF lenses with autofocus available. As you know, we have not adopted any open strategy, but the executive doesn't leave us there. All I can say is that we have a confidentiality agreement with other manufacturers regarding the type of lenses to be released or their position in the marketplace, but I can't say any more. Then shortly after that, Canon said this: Canon is communicating with third-party manufacturers regarding RF mount lenses, and there are no restrictions, none whatsoever. But he quickly denied any speculation circulating among photography fans of lenses to be announced with Sigma very shortly. Then at CP Plus 2025, Canon finally said this: other companies have begun to release several RF lenses, but we have no knowledge of what types of lenses they will release. We only know that these have been released. We cannot disclose the contents of the contracts, such as licenses, to the public. Right now, all I can say is that we are deciding on the contents of the contracts that's within our business strategy. But exactly 2 months later, that's exactly what happened. Sigma and Tamron both announced 6 APS-C RF lenses between them, though it did take until January 2025 before they all shipped. So you can understand why a lot of people think that Canon is gaslighting them. They go on and say that we're opening up the mount, and then they say, no, we have no strategy to open up the mount. They talk about contracts that restrict certain requirements, and then they say on another side at another show with a different executive that they're not doing that, and they have no idea what lens manufacturers are doing and what they're not doing, that they have no control over that. I understand why people are frustrated. They bought into the R system back in 2018, 2019, expecting, as they did with the EF mount, that we'd see some RF lenses. And that didn't materialize. But then when Canon kind of gaslit them by giving different statements, kind of leading them on to believe that something was happening when clearly it was a half-truth at best, well, people started to leave in droves in 2022. And that Sigma announcement, it was a huge departure from the string of manual-only lenses that we'd seen before, like Cosina. For the first time, we not only had Canon-approved RF lenses, but they had autofocus. But now, a year later, with no sign of any indication of an announcement by either company of any full-frame RF lenses being announced, just a whole lot of waiting. But some are hopeful. Photographers are crossing their fingers for full-frame RF glass from Sigma in 2025, like the 150 to 600 mm, the 60 to 600 mm, the 35 f1.4, 70 to 200 mm, and of course, who can forget the 24 to 70. We keep getting led to believe that full-frame RF lenses with autofocus are just a year away. But today, a source with Canon rumors told us this. We've been told full-frame RF lenses with autofocus are indeed coming in the next year, maybe even sooner. So there we have it, a glimmer of hope that full-frame third-party RF lenses are on the way, that they're coming soon within, shall we say, 12 months? Which we've kind of been teased about since 2019. You see where this is going? It's year after year we feel like we're being gaslit. But Canon rumors has been very accurate when it comes to, well, calling what lenses are coming out. So which manufacturer is going to be producing these full-frame RF lenses? How many are we going to get? And when will we receive them? Well, that's coming up in the next chapter. Craig Blair, I've known him for many years. He's not the type of person to throw around speculation just for the sake of it. Look, let's cue up a slide that he put out in, what was it, December or November of 2020. And look at how many lenses are on here. This was his 2020 Canon RF lens roadmap. There's a ton of lenses here. And everything there in green, we got. That's correct. Craig, the founder and editorial director of Canon Rumors, got these correct. I read the Canon Rumors post as simply this, that within the next 12 months, we are getting an announcement, support from third parties for full-frame lenses for the Canon RF mount. And I get it. Look, I understand, and I can imagine some of the comments already. It's too little, too late. And I get where you're coming from. I really do. Plenty of shooters have already jumped ship to Sony because of their abundance of affordable, entry-level and mid-level lenses. And now, with Sigma's 300 to 600mm f4 throughout the entire focal range at just $6,000, third-party makers are starting to undercut Canon's high-end market before Canon even releases their own 300 to 600mm. All this while Canon's dragging their feet on licensing for third-party RF full-frame lenses. So which manufacturer is going to be announcing full-frame RF mount lenses? Well, the first ones won't be coming from Sigma, at least that's what we're told. This doesn't surprise us too much, but may not be good news for some of you. It really kind of makes you wonder what's happening behind the scenes. What are the requirements? What are the restrictions? Why don't we have any Sigma full-frame glass for the Canon RF mount or the Canon R system? I mean, just look at all the lenses that Sigma has out there. They have some pretty amazing lenses. I can think of several that I would love to see, like that 60 to 600mm. Or what about the 35mm f1.4? Or perhaps the 24 to 70? 70 to 200mm? Tamron, for example, they recently announced the development of an all-in-one 18 to 300mm f3.5 to 6.3, but it's an APS-C lens. It's not a full-frame lens. Sorry, I keep driving off in the weeds here, so let's get back to which manufacturer we can expect to produce this mythical full-frame lens for the Canon R system. Well, Craig thinks, according to his sources, that the first full-frame RF glass will actually be from a Chinese brand, like Viltrox. So yeah, it might be from a Chinese brand, and they didn't say it would be from Viltrox here. I know how I wanted to read this statement too. It might be from a Chinese brand, like Viltrox. They're not saying it's going to be from Viltrox, but the big question is, okay, is it going to be just one lens? Is it going to be an entry level? Is it going to be a mid-level? What's their roadmap? What other lenses could we potentially see? And that's what's frustrating, because for many of us, when we buy into the R system, we purchase a camera not because it can do all these amazing things, but because of, well, the lenses behind them. All these lenses. What they can do for us. They do some amazing things. This, for example, is the 100 to 500mm. It's great for wildlife photography. It's truly, I love this lens, and the stabilization, it's incredible handheld. It's an absolutely incredible lens. But it's not the only lens in my inventory. When I want to, a lot of times I find, where is it here? Is this the, I don't have my glasses on. What am I looking at? This is the 100mm. The 100mm f2.8 macro, another terrific lens. This one right up here, this is my new favorite. It's the 50mm f1.4. I love it. I think it's great. And of course, my trusty travel 24-105 f4. I think they're all great lenses. That's why I buy into Canon. It's not just because of the camera, because without the right amount of lenses, it doesn't service a purpose. That's why I didn't buy Fuji back in 2019, 2018, because there weren't enough lenses with stabilization, and that's what mattered to me. I love the cameras. You see, this is why a lot of people are frustrated, why a lot of people feel they're being gaslit, and why a lot of people actually have left Canon for Sony. When it comes to Canon's control of the RF mount, we have no idea what third-party agreements with Canon will entail. How much money do these companies have to pay Canon for the licensing? How strict is Canon as far as performance requirements? And what sort of lenses might third-party manufacturers not be able to make? We have no idea and probably never will. Canon is notoriously coy about their business decisions. You see, and that's the rub. If you're happy with Canon, you love the R5 II, the R1, the R3, you love the lenses, the 400mm f2.8, the 100-500, the 50mm f1.4 are a whole sundry of EF lenses that you've adapted to your Canon R system. If you're happy with that, well, this video probably isn't for you, but it still impacts you. Because if more people get frustrated with Canon and actually leave the platform, that means sales go down. That means the amount of money that goes to R&D goes down. That means the amount of money that goes into R&D for the high-end lenses that you get to enjoy, well, it also goes down. You see, no company ever stays at the top of the marketplace. You might think that Canon, woo, they're up there close to 50% market share. Woo, that's pretty exciting. There's no way Sony can touch that, right? Well, at one point, Nikon had about 65% of market share. And yes, it's a while ago, but that decline, it happened pretty quickly. And Sony's ascension, well, it's also happening pretty quickly. They're around 29% market share at this point. 29% global market share. Now, just a few years ago, they were down around 14%. Sony's serious about being number one in mirrorless. And I'm putting out a video in a couple of days about the Canon CPS program and how it saved my bacon and why I think it's an incredible value. I really do appreciate the Canon platform and the professional services, but at the same point, you can't grow a brand by just focusing on the high end, because when you see what Sony's doing with their camera bodies, or even Nikon, if you're starting out, if you're a teenager, or even if you're younger, your parents aren't going to buy you an R5 Mark II. They're going to buy you something more affordable. And whatever you start with, there's a pretty good chance you're going to stay with that. And that's why it's very important to not just release incredibly well-spec'd out cameras like the R50, the R50V, the R7, the R10, but Canon needs to follow through with a lot of very interesting lenses for the RFS mount. You can't just rely on the halo effect from the Pro series. And when it comes to the Canon APS-C mount, the RFS mount, well, there really aren't an awful lot of great lenses that Canon makes. You have a lot of kit lenses, an awful lot. You have some pancake lenses. But you see the Sigma 35, the 20, the 50, the 85 millimeter, the f1.4s. A lot of them are under $1,000, and Canon doesn't make an awful lot of primes built from quality metal products within that price point. And they didn't do that with the EF mount either. So it's not like it's taking away from Canon's lunch. They don't even have to make all these lenses. They just have to allow Sigma in. And I think just even allowing Sigma in themselves would be huge. Viltrox would also be huge. So that's why I understand the frustration, and it's almost comical how long this is taking now. I expected after last April, a year forward, we would have an announcement of full-frame lenses from third parties, and they just haven't materialized. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. It's very much appreciated. If you are looking at purchasing any Canon gear or any camera gear from B&H, Adorama, or Amazon.com, then please look down below in the description and use those links that I have there. These guys right here, I actually have them for about 20 to 30 products from Canon to Sony and Nikon. You are quite literally keeping the lights on, both the key light and the fill light, and it's very much appreciated because I get anywhere from 2 to 5% back Thank you. It's busy time right now. I've already got 4 videos queued up to go, and this is one of 3 videos that I'm shooting today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.